Hi, welcome back to my channel. I am Jamila, aka Earthling Era. Today, I wanted to talk to you about a topic that has literally been an absolute game changer for me, and that is courage as the alchemist. Now, what does that mean? Courage as the alchemist. What is alchemy? If you found your way to my channel, maybe you've heard this word used before, alchemy or alchemist. Maybe you're familiar with the book The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. That was a very famous book that is still, I think, selling like crazy. Alchemy is just the ability to change something into something else. And we alchemize all the time. An example of alchemy is like taking a bad situation and maybe bad feelings in the body and then being able to turn it into something else, maybe a piece of art, maybe something productive, something that helps someone else, right? So for me, this channel is my form of alchemy, taking everything that I've learned throughout my life, everything that I've experienced, everything that I've become, and sharing it with you to create more change in the world and maybe just plant seeds that help make this world a better place. Alchemy, more specifically, is about it's thunderstorming outside. It's been interesting because it's like thundering, but there hasn't been rain. Like last night, it thundered like crazy, like rolling thunder, and then there was no rain at all. So I wonder if you can hear it. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, alchemy is usually talking about metals, turning other metals into gold, but that's like very much metaphorical, right? Like we're creating gold all the time. We're creating gold in tiny little moments. I think gold is love, and there's love in literally anything, and anything can be transformed into love. And I want to talk to you about how courage is really the key for alchemizing. I live in Mexico, man. There's dogs, thunder. I don't know if you can hear any of it, but there's a show, an obra, outside my window right now. Let's talk about courage. In order to talk about courage, I think it's really important first to talk about fear. Currently in the process of developing a guide for you. It's called Remembrance, and it's a guide that's all about the things that bring me back home to myself, the things that feel like yummy in my body, in my heart, the things that bring me back to life whenever I'm feeling like I've just been like in those not dark times, but just times where you feel less of like the spark in the daily life, So I have experienced those times for sure, and I'm really blessed, and I feel really grateful that I've always been able to find my way back to light, back to life, back to magic, back to the like yummy, sweet stuff, the stuff of life, right? And so I'm creating this guide right now for you that maybe you can use whenever you're in the middle of a dark time or a dark moment, or moments where you're just missing that, that goodness, that, je ne sais quoi, if you will. And in that process of creating this guide, one of the sections that came up for me is about fear, more specifically the fear of death, because I believe that the fear of death is underlying most of our fears, even if we don't really realize that or bring it back to that. At the end of the day, even like insecurities and stuff like that, we become insecure, or we have this like ability to feel insecurity because we need to make sure that we're feeling belonging in community so that we can survive and thrive, right? Like most of our fears are like, if you're afraid of the dark or if you're afraid of heights, that totally makes sense, and it connects right back to the possibility of death more quickly. But some of these other fears that, come from traumas, or that just come from, sometimes we have fears that just encoded in our bodies and we don't even have a lived like experience to tie it back to. But there are so many things that we're afraid of. I think it all comes back down to death. The thing about death is that when it is near, when we're in proximity to death, those are actually the moments where we feel most alive. No? maybe the mundane things stop making sense. Maybe the material world stops making sense because you realize that there's a way out of this all. And I think that knowing that we're not always going to be here is what reinvigorates the love of life. The joie de vie. I don't know where all this French is coming from. Is that what it's called? Joie de vie? Yeah? The joy of life? So that's why courage is so important, because what happens when we meet a fear is that we're actually looking at the potential of death. And so we want to shy away, and go back to our regular mundane lives in the material world. But what happens when we meet fear and we keep going and we push through and we act and we do something anyway? Alchemy, you've changed. You're changed. You've just unlocked a door. You've just unlocked a portal into a world that you didn't think was accessible. You thought death was on the other side of that boundary. But you cross it and you find that there's more life to be lived on the other side. And now you're in a new world. You're in a new world of more potential, more possibility, right? So a personal antidote, is that the word? Oh God, I'm so bad at saying that word. Someone called me out on it once and it was hilarious. I was like, antidote, and they're like, what? I'm like, I don't know, antidote? I don't know. A story that I have that literally changed my life is actually my coming out story. It's not really my coming out story, but it was my first experience with queerness when I met someone who was not my opposite gender. I was just like having all these feelings, I was like, what is happening? What is happening? And it wasn't that crazy for me. I've always been like a very open-minded person, so I wasn't even really struck by the idea of queerness or anything like that. I have a ton of queer friends. I kind of grew up around queerness all the time. But I was mostly just struck by all of the feelings and emotions I was having, and I was just like, what is this, right? So I'm like, I have to do something, but I'm shy. I know I have this channel and like I'm talking and everyone like sees me as this like confident person, I've built my business, I moved to Mexico, everyone's like, no, like I'm shy, okay? I'm an extroverted introvert. So saying something to them about what I was feeling, like even just asking them out, was really hard for me. But my friend, he gassed me up and he was just like, go on, like do it, like why not? And I was like, yeah, you're right. So, more thunder. So, I go to this person and I'm like, hey, actually I'm gonna lie, because the way this really went down is so not cool. So I went to them. I'm like shaking, man. I'm shaking. I've never had to do this before. And I say, like I'm crushing a little bit, and I would love to see you again, if you want to like meet up. And it went really well. They were like, yeah, and it was really exciting. Let me tell you right now, when I walked away after that moment, I swear to you, maybe I was just like on a high, like I saw the world ripple. I swear to you. I walked away and everything, I entered a new reality. I entered a new world because of that major act of courage. Okay, mind you, this is not just like asking someone out. This is someone who I'm not used to being attracted to, right? And for a shy person, who's had to overcome a lot of challenges, a lot of issues with insecurity, a lot of issues with abandonment in my past, to to be that forward, it took a lot out of me. And I saw my world change before my eyes, literally. Maybe that's where that saying comes from. The world changed before my eyes. Is that a saying? Because it did. I swear it did. And so that's why I say courage is the alchemist, because whenever I feel a fear, and obviously we're talking about like fears that won't actually result in harm. You know, my friend was just telling me how she was afraid to jump into water, you know, afraid to jump off of the high point into the water. And I mean, I saw her and she was, yeah, it looked like it was very, very scary, a lot of fear in the body. You know, we can be afraid of trying something new. We can be afraid of speaking out. We can be afraid of like being seen. You know, there's so many things, a new job or a career change or moving to Mexico, taking a big risk, you know? But when we do those big things where the fear lies, where we feel like there's death on the other side, I mean, like maybe there is, right? Because that's alchemy too. That's creation too. Creation is death. It's the same thing. And so I hope that this video for you can be a reminder, an encouragement, a sign, you know, that if there's anything that is calling you, that maybe you're feeling in your body like this is fear, you know, I implore you to do it, to try, because there is a new reality on the other side of that move, of that act. And if I can give you any advice for overcoming fear, I kind of want to just be like Nike, like just do it. I guess in my situation, what really helped me was being open and honest with someone I trusted and sharing my experience with them and like being vulnerable and being like, I don't know if I can do it. And him being like, you got this, you know? So I guess I would say share it with someone you care about and who cares about you, because I'm sure they're going to be a beautiful mirror for you to help you remember who the F you are so that you can do what needs to be done to get on the other side. Thank you so much for being here. This is work. This is not easy stuff. And so just you like being open to what I'm sharing here, I hope that it does create some kind of change in your life for the better. And I think the more of us that are doing this work and healing ourselves and empowering ourselves and just like going for the desires, like moving in the direction of our path, I think the more of us that do this, the better the world is. And so thank you so much, and I wish you the best of luck. Leave a comment if this meant something to you. Leave a comment if you tried doing something courageous or if you're planning on doing something courageous. I'm sure it'll be amazing encouragement for other folks who come here. Remember to subscribe if you're interested in more sharings from my journey. The thunder again. From my journey, my life in Mexico, my starting a business, working remote, living out here, being a spiritual person, and growing every single day. See you soon.